All right, it's the Herp Club of the Natural History Society of Maryland, and it's our June meeting, and we're preparing for a Bioblitz at Banneker Park, Banneker Historic Park. Benjamin Banneker, and hopefully our folks from the park will come on and be able to give us some background on the location, why it is a park, who Benjamin Banneker was. We had the opportunity to do a what did we do, Tom? The other
yeah, it seems so long ago. It was a vernal pool hike program at Banneker, where there was lots of falling in mud and getting wet and incidental catching of frogs. But it was, while we were there, it was a good time by all, and we kind of had the brainstorm to do a Bioblitz at that location.
So that's what we're doing. And the Bioblitz is going to take place on June 26th. Tom's going to give us some more information on what a Bioblitz is and how we're going to do that. Basically, do you want to do that now, Tom?
Yeah, and then you can do your piece. That's great. Okay, so basically, we're going to, the Bioblitz is based.
Tom, we can't hear you. Tom, we can't hear you. I know, we can't hear Tom.
We can do that, and
Tom,
Brian, yep.
Tom, you were talking and nobody could hear you.
All right, how about, one second. How about now?
Keep talking and we'll let you know what happens.
All right, just wave your arms wildly if you can't hear me. So basically, we're gonna we'll all meet at the park. The Bioblitz is basically a search and cataloging of reptiles and amphibians at a given location. Well, you can do a Bioblitz for anything. It can be plants, insects, birds. As a Herp Club, we're specifically going to be looking for reptiles and amphibians. So we can. We're going to meet at the park. I believe it's 2 p.m. and we will fan out. Since it's a club outing, I think it's best if we stay as a group. We can certainly spread out to cover more area, and then basically see what we can see. We already know that there's certain species of frogs and toads in the park. It depends on the weather and the time of day that we're there, what we're more likely to see. However, everybody has different experience.
Still can't hear you.
I see Gene.
Now I can hear you.
Okay. So when we're in the park, basically, depending on what habitat we're in, the main thing we want to be mindful of is being respectful of the habitat. Reptiles and amphibians tend to want to stay hidden, especially when it's a little hotter out. If it's a hot day, they're probably going to be undercover. So we're going to be lifting logs, lifting rocks, moving cover that the animals may be under. It's just important to replace any cover that we move. Logs, rocks should be put back where they were. If there's an animal under it that we want to catalog, we want to move that animal out and place the cover back and then put the animal right near it so we can go back under his cover. Salamander, frog, whatever it may be. If you don't know what something is, especially if it's a snake, don't handle it. Snap a picture. That's how we're going to catalog things anyway. Brian, again, will expand on that, and then wait for positive ID. It's unlikely that we'll come across a venomous snake. It's always possible, though. There are copperheads in the general area, maybe not in the park, but again, if you're not 100% sure, we recommend that you not grab it. Any of the amphibians, frogs, salamanders, we want to make sure that if we are handling them, that our hands are wet and free of any lotions or sunblock, insect repellent, because that sort of thing can damage their skin. So it's best to scoop up some leaves and mud with a tiny salamander as opposed to just grabbing them between your fingers. Frogs, keep your hands wet, or catching in a net. To take a photo, a lot of these animals are fast, so it's hard to take their photo if they're not confined. We just want to handle things gently and be respectful of the habitat, and also be mindful that there may be other park visitors while we're there, and they may be curious as to what we're doing. So we'll tell them what we're doing, and it might be a chance to recruit more crazy herp people. Do a little field education is always fun. So within the time period that we're there, we're basically just going to try to find as many reptiles and amphibians as we can, and that acts as a catalog for the folks at the park, that they know at least there's been positive ID of any given species on this day and time in their park. And all data is good data. We may come across a species that they haven't seen, and that's good information to have. And then we may find we might find an eastern king snake. That would be a pretty awesome find. It's not impossible. That area of Baltimore County, they're there. So, I'll buy a cheeseburger to anybody on the trip that day who finds an eastern king snake. I might even throw in a Coke. I don't know. So that's basically what I wanted to touch on. Again, I don't think it's anything that we haven't done. It's just going to be a little bit more organized. We're going to be photographing the herp for later identification if you don't know what it is, and then we'll upload it to iNaturalist. How we do that, Bron will discuss, because I'm a novice myself with it. And then the main thing is we're going to be there just outside having fun and seeing some of the animals that we respect and love so much. So that's about all I want to cover on that. It's pretty straightforward.
Does anybody have any questions for Tom about what a Bioblitz is, or in general, if you're out in nature, how to best come across any herp species and how to approach them, if you have any questions? Joe?
Yeah, is there going to be a joint Bioblitz for other species at the park on that day?
That's a great question, Joe. And Tom and I were discussing this earlier before the meeting started. And we're not going, iNaturalist is a great platform. And we're not going to limit people from collecting and taking pictures of other things. We're just trying to kind of focus on the herps. But by all means, folks that are there can snap pictures of any plants or animals, because as Tom said, all data is good data.
Okay, so Banneker isn't inviting, say, a native plant group or some ornithologist or entomologist to the park?
No, it's just going to be our group. They have invited their volunteer corps also, anybody who's interested in participating as well. But this one is specific to us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, when we're moving through the various habitats, and the park is neat because they do have some open grassy fields. They have kind of bottom wetlands where there's a vernal pool. They have some woodlands. So there is varied habitat. So when we're moving through those various habitats, it's just a matter of recognizing that, many snake species are probably going to see and feel us coming before we see them. So sometimes being quiet and stealthy is going to yield more. But I've also found that being in the woods with a group of people yields so much more, because you just have so many more pairs of eyes there to see things. Especially if there's kids on the trip, they're a lot lower. They're like at frog eye level, so they tend to see more frogs and salamanders than I do. So it's we have a chance of seeing some cool herps, and let's face it, even your regular old common toad is always awesome to find, because no two are alike, and I always get excited when I see toads. Never gets old.
Nick, just to let you know, you can RSVP for that up until the day before. So I guess July 25th.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, Joanne is asking, does the club have nets?
So yeah, I think we have some in the storeroom that we can bring. I have one, so there'll be nets. Don't worry about bringing a net. There's a small, the area that has an aquatic habitat is fairly small, so we're not going to spend too much time. I don't plan on going in the pond. You're certainly welcome to bring waders if you want, but I think just regular comfortable hiking shoes that you may or may not want to get wet is fine. This time of year,
there is a stream as well that the kids were in before.
This time of year, I tend to just, if there's a stream, I just walk in it with whatever hiking shoes I have, because they haven't, we haven't gotten our designer Herp boots yet from the previous meeting. But I think waders would be a little overkill, but certainly personal choice on that. Nets, and we'll have a few small containers just for like tadpole identification if we scoop up some tadpoles.
The time for the Bioblitz is 2 to 4. It is in the afternoon because Banneker has another event going on that day, so that we're kind of piggybacking on. But it's the date that worked out for everybody. So it's going to be from 2 to 4 on that day. Tom?
Snake hooks, yeah, absolutely. I was talking to Bronwyn about that earlier. I prefer snake hooks because my knees are getting older and I don't like to bend down all the time. So I use the snake hook more to move logs and rocks than bending down constantly. But if you have a snake hook, absolutely feel free to bring it.
Maybe you can let people know what a snake hook is? I don't know what one is.
Oh, okay. Well, if you could picture the handle of a golf club, and instead of the golf club part at the end where you hit the ball, it's basically a metal hook. There's different versions. Some are designed a little bit more beefier for the purpose of ripping open rotten logs and things like that. But generally they're for handling venomous snakes, so you don't have to put hands on the snake. They're great for water snakes too, because water snakes are just love to bite you and musk you, and it's just so much easier to move them around with a hook than to get all bloody and stinky. So that's basically, and they come in various different sizes, and it's just basically an extension of arm tool to move stuff out of the way, or to pick up a snake that you don't want to pick up with your hands.
All right, and it looks like Brina is joining us. Hi, Brina, I'm Bronwyn. You're muted right now.
There we go. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm so sorry I'm late.
That's okay. That's okay. We started without you and going over what a Bioblitz is and kind of our strategy for the day, and folks are just asking questions to Tom. Tom Scollins here is the head of the Herp Club and also the herpetology curator for the Natural History Society of Maryland as well. And Brina is the new
Acting
director.
Yeah, it's a temporary position. Yeah, so I'm just holding the space for the time being, but yeah.
Acting director for the Banneker Historical Park. So let me just see, any more questions about that day and bioblitzing in general for Tom? Nick uses a golf club for a snake Jean, go ahead, Jean.
Yeah, I might tell Brina that Tom just gave the clearest and most concise description of a herp search and what to do and what to expect that I've ever heard. So later, if you get a chance, you might chat with him either here or on the phone. He can tell you really what to expect and what we can do. So
Okay, great.
Thank you, Gene. You're my biggest fan.
it was good. It was good. And I was just struck. I've been on a number of herp searches about how clear it was about what to expect. And even before I could say, what about my shoes? What kind of footwear should I bring? Oh, you chimed in with, this would be useful, that'd be useful, and so forth. So that's good. So, and this will be our first. So this will be a learning experience. And I think it'll be a lot easier to do than having 40 people. And then, you said sort of chaos, people running off in different directions for our search. It'll be good.
Yeah, and please do bring water. And while we don't want sunscreen on your hands because it can interact with the amphibious skin, we do want you to, protect yourselves in all the ways that you can. Just wash that stuff off and before you pick up a frog. And we want you to find a frog and want you to pick them up. In the old days, if you go down to the basement of the Natural History Society of Maryland, you'll see some jars, and in those jars are full of dead critters. And those dead critters in formaldehyde or some kind of liquid were collected on various, where were they collected, Tom, for bioblitzes in the past?
Yeah, they were the original bioblitzes. They were the cataloging of specimens within the state of Maryland. A lot of the specimens were the first ones collected, what they call the type specimens. And a lot of them were actually from around the world because the curators would travel around and collect stuff as well. But luckily, we don't have to pick all our herps anymore.
Yeah, we are utilizing the iNaturalist app. I did send out information on that previously. Can you all raise your hand or give me a high five or something in the chat if you have already logged on, created an account, downloaded the app onto your phone, and maybe have used it in the past? All right. Okay, so some people, I can't see a lot of people who are don't have their screen on. I have, good. I am going to go over a little bit of the basics. We have some time beforehand, and it's a really simple and elegant application. What I have also done is set up a project that is specific to this BioBlitz. And it's based on the time and the location and the date, so that any observations that are done within the Banneker Park on June 26th during our time frame should automatically upload into the system, so that we'll have a central area to collect and synthesize the data that we find. One thing that Tom talked about was that most critters don't want to be found, and that's true with herps. So they want to stay hidden, especially if they hear something tromping through the grass, they want to go. So while you might have the app on your phone, what we are recommending is that we're just focused on taking the pictures when we're at the BioBlitz. And then when we come back together at the end of the day, we'll be able to upload those all into the iNaturalist system. So instead of trying to make sure that you're on the app and then you're trying to capture a frog before it jumps off or a snake as it's slithering across the road, just have the phone at the ready, or a camera can work too, because you can upload the pictures from your computer, even the day or week or afterwards. We can still do that as well. So if you'd rather have your DSLR camera and you're on to photography, definitely bring that with you as well. So we're just trying to capture that. We can also capture sound, and we can upload the sound to iNaturalist as an observation. So if you're hearing a toad or a frog, we can record that sound and we can upload that later as a specific observation too. So does anybody have questions based on that? We will all be collecting our data by taking photographs. And as was mentioned before, while we are focused on amphibians and reptiles, it doesn't matter if you see a pretty bird or a plant or an insect, take those pictures too. It's always wonderful to know what's around us, and that's what iNaturalist is for and what a Bioblitz is for. It just keeps our eyes focused on the natural world. So, and I'm sure that the park will be ever grateful for knowing and having some more baseline data on what critters like to call their park home. So with that, any questions on taking pictures that day? Jean.
So, if I could make a suggestion, for people who find a herp and aren't sure of what it is, to talk to one of the people who really know Maryland herps and the similar species. So, for example, you see a frog partially submerged in the water. Sometimes it really isn't obvious what it is. So, drag over, Tom or Joe to take a look while you're doing it, rather than relying on the photograph, because we do have a number of similar species, and it's terrifically helpful to get somebody to look at it right at that time. And I will even follow my own advice. So,
Tom, do you have something to say about that? So if I see a frog and I'm trying to take a picture, should I say, frog, come over here and let's try to help me?
Yeah, nothing gets me running faster than the call of frog. I'll come barreling through the bush. Yeah, no, absolutely. Get your picture. It's true. A submerged frog could be a pickerel frog or a green frog or a young bullfrog. It can be difficult. And not only are we there to catalog the herps, but we're also there to have fun and see the herps. So giving everybody the opportunity to see that animal as well is important. The Natural History Society as a whole, and the Herp Club is no exception. We are about like-minded people getting together and having a good time first. Collecting data is going to be a great output from that, but it's certainly not a rigid academic study. We're there to have fun and see stuff. So if you see a cool critter, yeah, let your fellow herpers know. And yeah, absolutely, we're all nature fans. So you see a awesome looking caterpillar, we all probably want to see it too. So snap a picture and.
All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you for a little bit, and I'm going to show you a couple of videos, and then we're going to go through a quick thing on iNaturalist. Then I'm going to turn it over to Marina to give us the lowdown on the park, if that's okay. All right. All right. Now you get to see all of my tabs that I have open. Did everybody see this? Okay, so here is just a quick 1 minute overview if you are new to iNaturalist or if you just want a little bit of a refresher.
Okay, so you've installed the iNaturalist app and created an account. Time to get outside and record your first observation. Here's how to do it. Any living thing, like a plant, animal, or fungus, can be an observation on iNaturalist. Once you find something you'd like to record, just tap Observe and take a photo. You can review your picture, then hit Next if it looks good. To identify it, hit What did you see? If you have an internet connection, iNaturalist will suggest 10 visually similar species and often a common ancestor. You can choose one of those or search for a species name. On this observation details screen, you can add more photos of the same organism or write a note. The date, time, and location have been automatically added. You can also change the geoprivacy of the observation, mark whether it's captive or cultivated, or add it to a project. Once you're finished, just hit Share and your observation will be uploaded for everyone to see and identify. That's it. Keep on exploring and sharing.
Okay, so that was just a quickie, and that was a lichen on a tree. It wasn't going anywhere, right? So you could be in the app and go up to that tree and take the picture directly in the app. But what I talked about earlier is that we're going to be in the wild. The animals want to move away from us, so we want to snap the picture, not worrying about the app until at the end of the Bioblitz, and we'll upload it then. So let's watch this clip on kind of how you do it that way.
This video is a quick introduction to our web uploader, which allows you to upload, combine, and batch edit photos and sounds, then submit them to iNaturalist. I've got a few photos and a sound I'm going to use as examples, so let's get started. Now from anywhere on iNaturalist, I can mouse over my screen name in the upper right-hand corner and click Add under Observations. From here, I can either drag and drop the photos I want to upload or choose them from a menu. I'll go with the former option for this video. Once I've dragged in my photos, iNaturalist will upload each one as a card in the main workspace right here. Keep in mind, the photos have not been added as observations in iNaturalist yet. That won't happen until you hit the green Submit button in the upper right-hand corner. Now that the observation cards are all in my workspace, I can start editing them. I can edit a single observation by clicking on it and entering the information either directly on the card or in this area on the left-hand side. You'll see that geoprivacy, captive cultivated, tags, projects, and observation fields are all on the left-hand side as well. To add an identification, I can click in the species name field and iNaturalist will suggest visually similar species. Or I can begin typing in a common or scientific name and choose from the drop-down menu. To add or edit location information, I'll click on the location space here. You'll see that a location editor pops up and I can type a place into the search bar at the top. Note that this will not search iNaturalist curated places. It's simply a Google Maps name search to get you to the right area. And then from here, I can pick a point and drag these control dots in the circle to show the accuracy level of my location. Once I'm done here, I'll click Save to get back to my workspace. There's no sound recognition software on iNat, so you'll have to type in the species name. Now these two photos are of the same organism, so I'd like to combine them into one observation. I can either select them both and click Combine up at the top, or drag one card onto the other and voila, they've been merged into one. I'd already added location and species name in the photo's metadata, which iNaturalist has read, so that's all taken care of. Finally, let's say I want to batch edit my cards. I can select certain ones with my mouse, or hit Select All up at the top. Once I've selected the observations I'd like to edit, I can use the forms on the left-hand side to do so. Now that I've edited everything I want to here, I just have to hit submit and they'll be added to the iNaturalist database. I hope this video will help you streamline your iNaturalist workflow. Happy iNatting!
Okay. Oh, hello.
Here we go.
All right, we're not getting fit yet. All right. So now I'm going to go. Is everybody still following me? Tom, shake your head yes if you can still see and hear me. Wonderful. This is my iNaturalist situation. So and you could do it on the computer. And I took some photos with my phone, and we're going to go through it kind of. Let me show you what we do, and if you have any questions, we can do that too. So what I'm going to do is go to my observations. Oh, something's in the way here. All right, so I'm going to choose the files. And I'm coming over here to my pictures. Where was it? Where were the pictures that I just put up there? Oh, here we go. So this little guy was in my pool on Sunday. So I just clicked on it. It's loading the metadata now. And I don't know what species that is. Y'all might know what species that is of turtle, but if I click on the search area, it's telling me some options. Tom, do you want to let me know which one it is?
That's an eastern box turtle by what I can see.
But it doesn't show that. It says we're not confident enough to make a determination. So I'm going to write in eastern box turtle. And then I can hit on the location. That goes down to my, I found it at my house. And go down here in that area and update, and I can submit that. But what so I'm going to stop share now. Does anybody have any kind of questions? That was kind of a fast overview, but at the end, when we take the pictures, what we want to do is capture the data, and we can always work together to make sure that the pictures are uploaded into iNaturalist for ID purposes and for data synthesization. So any questions about iNaturalist? All right. If you are new to the app, I recommend that you go out and just take pictures of things and practice uploading them in observations and playing around with it before the Bioblitz. And now I want to introduce Brina. And what is your last name? I forgot.
It's Doyle.
It's Doyle. Doyle, and she's a representative from Banneker, and she's going to just give us an overview of the park and where we're going to be blitzing.
Yep. Hello, good evening. So like I kind of touched on earlier, I am in the acting position. So what that means is I am brand new. I got to Banneker about 3 weeks ago. So I've had an opportunity to walk around the whole park. It's gorgeous. It is 142 acres and pretty well forested throughout. It has about 3.5 miles of trails. And they're all very narrow, which is different from most other parks, you know, still navigable, but just not very wide like I'm used to, which is cool. You know, you don't see that very often. But very shady, of course, like the forest that I mentioned. A lot of it's a tulip poplar forest mostly. There is a wetland area, I guess you would call it. There's plenty of streams. There's a Cooper branch that runs down into the Patapsco. So the whole park is sort of situated right between Ellicott City and Catonsville, a little further over. So that's the general area. We are in Owella, if you've never been there before, but it's just a gorgeous park. So there's plenty to see, plenty of space to go searching for things. So I don't know if there's any other like specific things that you'd like to know about it.
Brina, knowing that you're new, temper the question that way. Are there any areas that you think would be better for us to focus on, either because they're less used, less explored, or maybe more productive for reptiles and amphibians?
Sure. Yeah. The one that comes to mind, and it's right off of, there's a pathway called the Trolley Trail, and it's just an old trolley line that's been paved over in the early 90s. And the stream that runs down next to it at one area kind of pools. And I've been told in, you know, some parts of the year, a lot of water will collect. Right now, it's not terribly deep. It's kind of created a very wet, marshy area, and I think that area would be perfect, especially for finding herps. And I can search out a couple more in the woods that aren't too far away, just so we're not spread out entirely. But I think that would be the ideal spot right there.
Okay. So are you going to be joining us that day?
Yeah. Yep. I'll be there.
Okay, great. Then you can be the living map. I'm not familiar with the park except for the one time I've been there, so either trail map
Okay.
would be helpful.
Yeah,
or
sure.
Yourself will work.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And one thing, I'm going to share my screen again because we were looking at, where did it go? Here, sorry.
Yeah, we did have a question as to the actual size of the park that you answered, which was great.
Yeah, so this is the project that was set up on
I found something
iNaturalist.
different than what the map. So that map on
Yeah. So this is the project that was set up, and so when you do join iNaturalist, I should have shown you that also. You can search for a project on the first page, and you can then just type in Banneker. 3 different projects will come up, but you want to click on Banneker Bioblitz, and you want to join that one. So currently, right now, we only have myself and Tom who are members of this Bioblitz. So if you're going to be participating, please join that. So all your data will go into iNaturalist first, but then will be teased out from the main iNaturalist database into this sub database for the Bioblitz on this day. And I think that Tom was talking about this map, and we wanted just to get some clarification if that was accurate, Rena, to the best of your knowledge.
Yep. Sorry about that pause. I was just zooming in, and that does look like the area that I was mentioning right there. Yep. That's accurate.
And
There's a
how
little
big is
bit, I think there's a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, that's the good chunk of land.
And how big is the park, to your knowledge?
The park is 142 acres.
Okay. And it looks like are the edges quite delineated? It looks like it's a funky kind of outline.
Yeah, like that kind of Y shape that cuts through there is a residential area. It's a neighborhood, and that's kind of the case of why it has all those straight lines like that. There are a lot of houses that border the park.
Okay. Anybody else has a question?
Which that begs the next question. Are there fences delineating the property line, or we're just going to have to be cognizant of and respecting people's private property that abut the park?
Yeah, I can't say from what I've seen that there are there's like one main fence, but you know, each private property that backs up to the park, a couple of them have private fences, but I think it's pretty clear where private property is. On another side of the park, it's pretty much cut off by the trolley trail. The trolley trail we can think of as an entire border to the park on one side, and that's very helpful, knowing that if you cross the trolley trail, you're on someone else's property. And then there's the Patapsco River at the bottom. So for the most part, there are like man-made or a natural border that one can tell where they're at. It's pretty easy to designate between.
And I believe that this is the first Herp Bioblitz that's taking place. That's how we understood it, but I'm not sure if that's.
That I'm not sure of either. I know Bioblitz has happened before in the past, but as to who's been a part of it, my only knowledge of Bioblitzing before this, I came from Cromwell Valley Park, and the teachers who lead the 5th grade programs, and they lead Bioblitzes as field trips throughout the county. So that's how I'm familiar with it. And I don't know whether that's what has been done at Banneker before, or if it was another group coming in. But yeah, I've heard it has been done before, but to what extent, I'm not too sure.
Right, and then there's no existing list of herps that have been found on the property, or did Banneker keep a list of also of things that he may have come across?
As for Banneker himself, I know he noted different things in his journals, not extensively, just kind of observations. So we don't have a list per se of that. I'm sure I might be able to come up with a list of a former director has put together, and I can check around for that, because I know other programs such as like Master Naturalists have been done at the park. So that is probably something they would have had on hand for it. So I'll check into that before the 26th.
All right. And do you want to share anything about Benjamin Banneker with us real quickly too? Why this is a park?
Yeah, and if folks have never been there before, you're in for a real treat. If you get an opportunity to just take a look around and observe, it is the home site of Benjamin Banneker, who lived during colonial times. He was born in 1731. Died in 1806, but he truly was a genius. He was a mathematician, an astronomer. He put together almanacs, one of Maryland's first almanacs. He was an African-American man. So it was noted that also he helped survey Washington, D.C. is what he's known for. But his history is not recognized a whole bunch. It's something I was never taught in school. So the very first time I got a chance to visit in 2008, and I've been there, I've been to Banneker a few times before I was transferred, and it's just amazing stuff. There's archaeology that's been done there. They've discovered where his house used to stand, where his parents' house used to stand. So we have a collection of things from the site itself, which is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So it's very cool history. And then we have a huge park on top of it. So a museum and a park, it's great. And it all has to relates back to Benjamin Banneker, who himself was a naturalist. And like I mentioned earlier, kept naturalist notes in his journal. So it all ties together.
And as Joanne mentioned, he documented the periodic cicadas.
Yeah, he sure did.
In those
Yep.
journals. So it would be interesting to go back. Maybe we get our archaeology club to go back and look through his journals to see some of the things that he may have said about the other natural phenomenon out there.
Yeah, I would love to see that too.
Any other questions for Brina or Tom on the Bioblitz or Banneker, or any questions on the iNaturalist app? Remember, don't get too worried about or anxious about the app. We just want to take pictures and then we'll figure out the uploading after that. So, any other questions? All right, I'll take the silence for everybody knows everything that they need to know to move forward in the world. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and we're looking forward to June 26th as we're all going to get together outside and do some bio-blitzing together. Stay tuned, stay well, stay outside. Oh, Jean, go ahead.
Yeah, something that everybody will think about, but only a few will ask, will there be bathroom facilities and a drinking fountain while we're there? Or should we bring, there'll be bathrooms, but maybe just bring our own water?
Yes, yeah, I would recommend that. There are water fountains. We prefer, just for COVID precautions, that they're not used. They could be used for filling up water bottles, but it'd be best to bring extra water anyway, just if we're going to be walking around a whole bunch. But yes, there will be bathrooms available both indoor, and then on the other side of the park there are porta pots as well. So there are plenty of facilities.
Okay, good.
And Brina, is the museum itself going to be open on that day so that we can meet there and kind of use that as a starting point?
Yep, it sure will. Yep.
All right. Tom, did you have anything to say?
Did you mention the Boa Fostering? Oh, somebody asked a question about the Boa. Nick asked about the Boa Fostering. I sent out an email to members. So yes, that's still a thing. There are some boa constrictors that need foster homes. They're part of a legal case, so they're not free and clear, meaning you'd be fostering them and not owning them. Possibly you would own them after the case is done, but there are 3 boas of varying sizes that still need foster homes. So yeah, if you or anyone you know is able to do that, please shoot me an email. I'm going to type my email in there now. And that's part of the bigger projects we'll be discussing at our next meeting. And as always, if you are coming to our in-person meeting next month, you are welcome to bring your favorite herp pet, or 2 or 3, as long as they're safely caged, bagged, and closed on your way in and out. We always have show and tell, if you will. So that's you're more than welcome to do that. If you're going to be joining us online, do that as well. Just have your herp next to you so you can show them on camera. MarylandNature.org. My email is now in the chat, and oh, I think I sent that just to Nick. I'll send it to everybody. Got it? That's all I got.
Yeah. And the RSVP for the July meeting, July 21st, where we'll talk about red ear slider care and herp pet sitting and the animal rescue part of herp care. at our first hybrid meeting since our first meeting in person, which will happen to be hybrid as well, since the pandemic happened. So make sure that you RSVP and remember to select if you're going to be in person or you're going to be hybrid, so we can plan accordingly for that.
Yes, absolutely. Also, and one more thing, sorry, it's late. Newsletter. I'm trying to throw together the next newsletter. Send me submissions. I don't want to type everything. I have a commitment from one person for an article. If you have any articles, photos, anything, it could be a paragraph, it can be 4 paragraphs. It could be a photo of your family vacation and what frog you found. It's just fun stuff for our newsletter. Everything and anything is welcome. So send it to me and we'll get it in there and we'll send it out to everybody via email. Now that's it.
Okay, everybody have a wonderful evening. And we'll see y'all soon in person to Bioblitz at Banneker. And I love it because it's an alliteration. And we'll see you on the 26th of June. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Brina.